During the funeral of my son, I checked the pet camera and, to my astonishment, found my husband and my son's wife in the midst of an affair in the bathroom at home. I hurried home to see it for myself, and their conversation reached my ears. But is this okay? Doing this in the middle of Steve's funeral? It's fine. He was obedient and cute, like a pet dog. Really? What a terrible wife. Danny, you're no better, being a father and all. Let's both happily go to hell together. The two got excited and started the second round. My daughter-in-law's shameless voice echoed, and I backed away, covering my ears. Oh no, disgusting. I inadvertently muttered those words. I bit my lip so hard it almost bled, swearing revenge on my husband and daughter-in-law. Steve, I won't let your betraying wife and father get away with this. Mom will make sure to get revenge, so watch over me. I am Helen Anderson, a 70-year-old housewife. I was out of luck when I married a man who believes women should guard the home and men should work hard. And I raised my son single-handedly while taking care of my husband. Because I am a full-time housewife, I don't ask for help with half of the housework. However, he would send my crying son and me to the living room in the middle of the night saying, "You're noisy," demanding perfect housekeeping from me, who stayed up all night due to his crying. And on top of that, he wouldn't bathe our son, change his diapers, or even try to interact with him. Even if he was in the same room, he would only read the newspaper or watch TV, showing no interest in our cute son at the peak of his cuteness. I lost all affection for such an indifferent father. The only things my husband showed interest in were neither his wife nor his son, with his innocent smiles and chatters, but teenage idols dancing on music shows. A middle-aged, pot-bellied, bearded man ignoring his family to drool over teenage idols on TV wasn't a pleasant sight. Our bedroom quickly filled with posters and photos. Plans to go to amusement parks were ruined by concerts, and he prioritized events over cheering for sports day. CDs played loudly throughout the houses. Perhaps due to such an environment, our son remained indifferent to women even as he came of age, showing no signs of marriage even past his 30s. Just when I thought he might remain single forever, around the age of 40, he said, "I have someone I want you to meet," and brought home a fiancée. She was a modest-looking woman, suited to long blonde hair and floral dresses. Michelle works at a client company of the firm I work for. After meeting her several times through work, I thought she was a wonderful person and asked her out. Last week, Steve proposed to me and said he wanted to introduce me to his parents. Next to my shy son, the fiancée blushed slightly and smiled. She was shy too, hardly speaking, and when she did, her voice was as cute as an anime girl's. My husband also watched the scene with a smile. Like me, perhaps such a reserved woman was perfect for my introverted son. Thinking so, I felt relieved. Little did I know what would happen 3 years later. "I'm really not good with men." That was the daughter-in-law's catchphrase. She said that, perhaps because she was raised by her mother alone. After losing her father at a young age, she got excessively nervous around the men. Even when interacting with store clerks, she would get nervous, look down, and barely manage a response. Especially men with thick beards or broad shoulders were physically repulsive to her. So, she was attracted to my son because of his androgynous appearance. Hence, my rugged, well-built husband was a bad match for her. He may have a loud voice and a rough appearance, but he has his gentle sides. He's not scary at all. Well, our cat avoids him, though. As I said this jokingly, Michelle replied with a forced smile. I'll try my best to get used to him. Her way of speaking irked me inside. It was as if she was treating my husband like a rare animal. Of course, I didn't say anything unnecessary and just responded, please do. In the beginning, Michelle was scared of my husband, but as she declared, she gradually became accustomed to him. 3 years later, they could now chat amicably. She even began to open up to me, and we could go shopping together occasionally. Then, the seemingly quiet and modest daughter-in-law's mask began to peel off slowly. For example, when standing next to me, she was often mistaken for a granddaughter. Even an acquaintance I met at the nearest bus stop after a long time thought she was my son's daughter. No, I'm Steve's wife. Oh, such a young daughter-in-law? That's nice. I didn't really care about this interaction. It's true that she has a youthful face and could pass for her late 20s, and her modest dress style with frilled blouses and navy dresses suited her well. The problem was what she said after being mistaken for a granddaughter. I'm always so sorry. I just look so young. While smirking as she said this, I maintained my composure and told her, no need to apologize. You are cute, and you do look young. Huh, cute? But you should try to look younger too, like dyeing your hair pink or purple. It was none of her business. I'm not a celebrity, and it's enough to be seen age appropriately. Besides, not to boast, but I have maintained my youthful figure, and I enjoy dressing stylishly appropriate for my age. Right now, I'm transitioning to gray hair. I don't think I have the courage to go colorful at this age. Only beauties suit gray hair. Michelle smirked unpleasantly. Well, I don't mind, but I feel sorry for your husband. He started going to the gym recently and has become quite handsome, so you should try to match him, especially since you're older than him. I nearly blurted out, leave me alone, but I managed to swallow my words. Why do I have to be criticized so much by my daughter-in-law? Swallowing my irritation, I smiled at her. Thank you for your advice. It's good to see you getting along well with Steve. The main reason I endure not retaliating against my daughter-in-law is that I don't want my son to dislike me. I have heard too many stories of relationships souring when a son takes his wife's side in a dispute. My shy son mustered the courage to ask her out, and after 2 years of dating, he proposed. Whenever they returned home together, it was clear how much my son cherished his wife. In turn, the daughter-in-law, who usually had a frosty attitude towards me, seemed like a different person, chatting happily with my son. That's right. Steve is so cute. I can't even believe he's older than me. I love him. The blushing daughter-in-law looked adorable, and I felt relieved to see that their marriage was truly happy. Thus, I endured her behavior by venting to my sister. That daughter-in-law of yours has a nasty personality. My sister frowned, holding a coffee cup. Helen, aren't you being underestimated? Oh, maybe. Why don't you show some maternal dignity once in a while? At this rate, Steve will be under her thumb. My sister, who divorced after 10 years of marriage and remained single, had no children. Therefore, she had always doted on my son as if he were her own child. She was even happier about his marriage than I was. It would be nice if they had a grandchild. Yes, but they seem happy just the two of them, so I'm keeping my opinions to myself. Upon hearing this, my sister smiled gently. Even though I had grievances with Michelle, I was living a calm life until one day, after finishing shopping at the supermarket and heading home, I received a rare call from her. Mother, something has happened to Steve. She cried out and choked on her words. What happened to him? Where are you now? The police. Later, my husband and I rushed to the police station and were confronted with the lifeless body of our son in the morgue, leaving us speechless. We were informed that the cause of death was a stroke. My son's pale face looked as peaceful as if he were sleeping. As Michelle and I were in a state of shock, my husband took out his cell phone. He called the funeral home and church we had arranged for his own parents' funerals, set the dates for the wake and funeral, and had our son's body transferred to a ceremony hall near our home. At times like this, my calm and composed husband is incredibly dependable. We notified relatives, and it was decided that the wake would be the next day and the funeral the day after. Even during the wake, I felt as if my son might start moving at any moment, so I couldn't leave his coffin. Michelle seemed to feel the same, kneeling beside the coffin and weeping profusely. My sister, brother, and other relatives thoughtfully left us alone, allowing my husband, daughter-in-law, and me to surround the coffin and tearfully reminisce about our son. As morning came and the funeral began, listening to the sermon slowly brought the reality of my son's death into focus. It seemed like just the other day we had talked on the phone. His gentle voice still echoed in my ears, yet I could never hear it again, which felt unbelievable. My heart felt constricted, and tears flowed freely. Amid the sniffles rising around the room, I cried louder than anyone. Since there was time until the departure for the burial, we were to wait in the room. Suddenly, worried about our cat, which had been left alone since last night, I launched the pet camera app on my cell phone. Oh, you installed a pet camera? My sister, sitting next to me, asked with interest. Yes, Evelyn. It's convenient to check on it with my cell phone. I'm always worried if it's doing well. Danny just went home. Maybe he's playing with the cat. I wonder. Our cat doesn't warm up to him at all. While laughing, I looked at my phone and froze. Forgetting to breathe, I stared at the screen. Instead of a charming scene of my husband playing with the cute cat, it displayed my daughter-in-law and my husband entwined naked. The bathroom door and washroom door were wide open, and they were in the midst of an affair, broadcast live without their knowledge through the pet camera installed in the hallway. Standing up with the cell phone in hand, I spoke to my sister with a trembling voice. Evelyn, I need to go home for a bit. Danny went back to get something he forgot, so there's no car. Will you take the bus? Yes, I'll do that. I rushed out of the funeral hall. I caught a bus that just arrived, enduring the agonizing ride, and as soon as I got off at the stop, I ran. I quietly unlocked the front door, climbed the stairs, caressed the cat purring and rubbing against my legs, and tiptoed to the washroom. Unlike earlier, the washroom door was closed, but they seemed to be frolicking with the bathroom door open. Their inappropriate gaiety reached the hallway. "No, Danny, don't touch me there. Michelle, your skin is so smooth. Nothing like my wife's. After all, younger women are definitely better. Danny, don't compare a 70-year-old crone to a 35-year-old. But is this okay? Doing this on the day of Steve's funeral? It's fine. I told you, I married Steve because I fell in love with you at first sight. He was obedient and cute too, like a pet dog. Really, what a terrible wife. Danny, you're no better, being a father and all. Let's both happily go to hell together." The two got excited and started round two. My daughter-in-law's inappropriate voice echoed, and I backed away, covering my ears. "Oh, number disgusting," I muttered involuntarily. My love for my husband had long since cooled. Thus, hearing the sounds of him frolicking with her in the bathroom, I felt no jealousy. Instead, I was filled with disgust at what they were doing on such an important day. Above all, I felt a hatred-like emotion due to their worst form of betrayal against my beloved son. As I crouched in the hallway, covering my mouth, a cat approached me and gave a worried meow before gently licking my wrist. "Thank you, Candy. I'm okay," I spoke softly to the cat. As I stroked its smooth fur, I gradually calmed down. After my composure returned, intense hatred for my husband and daughter-in-law resurfaced. I bit my lips so hard it almost bled, swearing revenge on them. "Steve, I won't let your betraying wife and father get away with this. Mom will make sure to get revenge, so watch over me." First, I locked the bathroom door. It was a child lock installed to prevent our son from entering the bath on his own when he was little. I had left it on because it was too much trouble to remove, never imagining it would come in handy like this. Then, I threw their clothes out into the hallway and sent an audio recording of my husband and daughter-in-law's activities, along with a description, to my sister. She called me immediately. "Helen, don't send me such disgusting things. It's contaminating my phone." "Sorry. You feel the same, Evelyn." I couldn't help but laugh. "Your husband and daughter-in-law are the worst. What are they doing during Steve's funeral? They must be out of their minds." "Exactly. That's why I'm going to punish them." My sister laughed heartily when I explained my plan. "Leave it to me." "Thanks, Evelyn." After hanging up, I sighed. I don't even have time to immerse myself in the grief of losing my son. After a while, my sister arrived at the house with our brother and my husband's siblings. The relatives, dressed in mourning clothes and gathering in the living room, wore puzzled expressions. "Helen, why are you calling us to the house when the departure is soon?" "I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Here's why." As soon as I turned on the mobile app, the moans of my husband and daughter-in-law filled the living room. "Oh, It's disgusting no matter how many times I hear it. I had turned the camera's volume to maximum, so it was quite impactful. The relatives' faces changed, and murmurs spread among them. My brother hesitantly asked me, "Helen, that's Danny's voice, right? Is the other person Michelle? I'll take you near the scene." I opened the living room door and led the relatives. They followed me with anxious faces. Since I had left the bathroom door open, the echo of the two voices was clearly audible in the hallway. The relatives grimaced and exclaimed in disgust. This is true. What are they doing during a funeral? They are hopeless. Steve has just passed away. This is unforgivable. Such people, we should disown them. Hearing the commotion, the two stopped their act and whispered to each other before trying to open the bathroom door. Huh? It won't open. Helen, you're there, right? Open it for us. Okay, I'll open it. The moment I unlocked it, the door swung open. My oblivious husband and daughter-in-law came out of the washroom, not even trying to cover themselves, completely naked. Really, this childish prank is, whoa. Danny, what's wrong? Ah! The two screamed and turned their backs to us. No, I don't need to see such an unsightly rear. Danny, where are our clothes? Hey, Helen, give us our clothes back. If you want your clothes, apologize to us first and explain everything. Okay, okay, just hurry up. I threw their underwear and bath towels at my husband's feet, and the two quickly wiped themselves off in the bathroom and hurriedly finished changing. The relatives furiously reproached them as they came out into the hallway, looking down. Danny, what are you thinking? It's your son's funeral. Betraying your wife and son, you shameless man. Michelle, you're the chief mourner, aren't you? Are you out of your mind? My husband and daughter-in-law, sitting in their underwear in the hallway, were berated severely by the relatives and shrank into themselves. I felt a sense of relief, but my anger was far from subsiding. We still have the departure to attend, so I'm going back to the venue. You two have no right to participate. Stay here and reflect on your actions. We're leaving now, but we'll hear from Helen later. Don't you dare run away. So, Danny, and you, Michelle, just wait quietly. After informing my husband and daughter-in-law, we returned to the funeral venue. As we were leaving, I saw the two of them looking down, changing into their mourning clothes. They were only pretending to reflect in front of us, surely. When we buried my son in the cemetery, a surge of regret overwhelmed me, and tears flowed freely. The staff must think I'm crying from the sadness of losing my son. They couldn't possibly imagine that I'm trembling with anger because my husband was taken by my son's wife. My sister, sensing my feelings, gently embraced my shoulder. We returned to the venue, and my brother took over as the chief mourner in place of the daughter-in-law. After the funeral ended, all relatives except for my sister went home. As we were leaving, my brother, with a gloomy face, spoke to my sister and me. Evelyn, please take care of Helen. Helen, stay strong. Kevin, thank you. I'll be fine. I forced a smile for my brother, and then my sister and I went home. As we opened the front door, We were met by my husband's vulgar laughter, and we involuntarily looked at each other. My sister placed her hand on her forehead and shook her head in disgust. With anger on my shoulders, I headed to the living room. My husband and daughter-in-law, who had been laughing uproariously while snacking, quickly straightened up at our appearance. Seeing the two sloppily dressed in mourning clothes, my body trembled with anger. It's time to act without holding back. I'll start with the daughter-in-law. Danny Michelle, are you really sorry for what you've done? We are. It was just a lapse in judgment this time. Right. Right. Forgive us, Helen. As my husband and daughter-in-law pretended to be contrite, my sister started to speak. I stopped her and pointed my phone at the daughter-in-law. Then, are you sorry about this matter too? What now? Ugh. Speaking in a cute voice and squirming, the daughter-in-law let out a low grunt. She tried to snatch the phone from me, but I quickly moved it away and showed it to my husband. What's this, Helen? Huh? What's this? Confused, my husband read the text on the phone screen. It says here, Michelle is spewing abuse at the newcomers, creating a terrible atmosphere at work. Please do something. My husband looked at the daughter-in-law with a suspicious gaze. He dislikes fighting, but he hates people who verbally abuse the vulnerable even more. She constantly nags staff who take leave for their children's illness. She hurls awful words at people who can't learn their jobs in one go. In the past year, 10 people have quit because of her. We're at our limit. If Michelle isn't fired, all of us will quit. Signed, the factory staff. I continued reading, and Michelle listened, frozen. I took a photo of the letter shown by the factory manager. Danny, let me tell you why I know about this. Michelle's workplace and the staff dorm are on land managed by Helen. She's the landlady. I added to his explanation. It's land I inherited from my father. I'm close with the factory manager and the president because of it. The other day, the factory manager consulted with me. I was going to talk to Michelle, but then Steve's incident postponed it. My husband looked at her in disbelief. Is this true, Michelle? So what? They're ugly and incompetent. It's irritating just to look at them. Even so, you shouldn't be hurling abuse at newcomers. What? Even you're making me out to be the bad guy? My husband seemed put off by her retort. He had only ever seen her surface. He probably didn't know about the frequent snide remarks she had made towards me. Now, it's my husband's turn. I'm disappointed, Michelle. I can't believe you would speak like that at your part-time job. As he crossed his arms and looked down on her, I thrust a bank statement pulled from the chest at him. You're one to talk, acting all high and mighty. My husband's face turned pale as he looked at the page I showed him. He looked down and mumbled an excuse, but it was incoherent. Helen, let me see too. That's a joint account, right? My sister looked at the page and grimaced deeply. Money has been withdrawn for the past 3 years. You've been cheating since then. The amount has been increasing, and over the past year, you've been withdrawing several $1,000s every month. Danny, were you really spending so much on your son's wife? Instead of my uneasy husband, Michelle proudly snorted. Steve was always nagging about saving. He only gave me gifts on our anniversary and my birthday. Danny, on the other hand, gives me brand bags and accessories for every occasion, like our 100th day together or the exact minute I was born. That's right. Modern couples celebrate these little anniversaries. I love you, Michelle. I love you too, Danny. It was a destiny meeting you. We must cherish it. As they hugged cheek to cheek, my anger exploded. Are you kidding me? After ruining your son's funeral, you dare say that? My usually quiet self yelled, and both my husband and daughter-in-law froze. You dared to spend $100,000 from our hard-earned savings. I will make you pay back every penny, including property division. $100,000? Did I spend that much? Come on, there's no way I can repay that. My husband's face contorted. He shook off Michelle's arm and begged in front of me with his hands together. Come on, please forgive me. If we divorce, I can't live on just my pension. I don't care about that. Despite my cold refusal, my husband made a pitiful face and clung to me. Helen, you can live off your father's inheritance. I only have my pension. I can't possibly pay the property division and repay the savings. If you can't pay all at once, we can arrange installments. At that, the furious daughter-in-law snapped. Wait a minute, Danny. You said you'd divorce next year, right? That was obviously a lie. Helen, as you see, please forgive me. Apologize to Steve rather than me. Not that I'll forgive you anyway. After I sharply retorted, my husband looked like he might cry. The betrayer husband was glared at by the daughter-in-law with a face full of anger. My sister watched the scene with a disapproving expression. After the funeral, I took only my valuables and moved to a hotel. When all the procedures related to my son were completed, I picked up my cat, slammed the divorce papers on my husband, and moved to a pet-friendly apartment. I arranged through a lawyer for the property division and the repayment of savings in installments, and set up a garnishment of his pension if he failed to pay. Now that the nuisances, my son and I, were gone, I thought my husband and daughter-in-law would be pleased, but their relationship soon soured. After being fired from the factory for abusive language and infidelity, the daughter-in-law struggled to find a full-time job, failing many interviews, and started working part-time instead. Chased by living expenses and the property division, she worked diligently, while my lazy husband did neither housework nor a job and demanded pocket money from her. When she refused, he brought up the abuse incident to blame her, and she completely fell out of love and initiated a breakup. Abandoned by Michelle, my shameless husband even tried to borrow money from relatives, but was refused, and reluctantly started working. Although his work went well, the fact that he had cheated with his son's wife spread in the neighborhood, leading to disdainful looks, and he couldn't stand it and sold the house. He was disowned by relatives and abandoned by friends, working tirelessly day and night to repay his debts to me, living a lonely old age in an apartment. At 70, I started a new life, enjoying my days with my lovely cat. I used to prioritize caring for my husband and dealing with my daughter-in-law. Now, I'm surprised at how free and easy being alone can be. I've made friends in the same apartment building, where many live with dogs and cats. We visit each other's homes and enjoy chatting. The sadness of losing my son has not yet healed, and I sometimes meet with my sister to reminisce and cry. Some nights, memories of my son return after I go to bed, and my cheeks get wet with tears. Yet, those of us who are left must live to the fullest. I keep my son's memory in a corner of my heart and cherish my time with my cat, looking forward to enjoying the rest of my life.